So, what do you think the future in the next 10 years, let's say, looks like if Gen Alpha are growing up from Gen Z slash Gen Alpha are growing up between 10 and 20, and young girls and young boys are looking at this really extreme uh, performance of sex?
I yeah, I mean, I know that like so I'll have a small audience with my students. The first thing I do tell them, because it always breaks my heart about how many young women are talking about um pain
Mm.
that they're experiencing from sexual from intimacy. And I the first thing I say is like, look, pain is actually your body's alert system. It's to let you know to stop doing what you're doing. The same way when you stub your toe, you immediately retract your foot because you thank goodness for the pain, because otherwise you'd keep moving forward. So pain is your body's alert system. So if that is a painful thing, then that means maybe you need to see a physician, or you are simply not ready. Like it means stop doing what you're doing. So pay attention to your body. Women have a tendency to allow cultural attitudes to override their inner voice or their gut feelings. They're just more prone to do that than men are. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that whereas I mean we're very sexual beings. I'm actually listening to an audio book right now that's called Sex at Dawn. It was recommended to me by a couple of different people, and it's very interesting, talking about wait, are we culturally trying to force ourselves into monogamous relationships as though that's the norm? Where's the evidence of this? It might not be. So trying to there's more literature out there that is, let's say, talking about sex and intimacy outside of what has been considered to be normal for a very long time. There's another book called The Ethical Slut that talks about all types of relationships outside of a heterosexual one, all the different types. I think it's written by a couple of Gen Zers. So there is stuff out there. So I always want to be very careful of like, okay, we've got the pornography, we've got some extreme stuff. But I never want for anyone to feel shamed or embarrassed of something that they do find like, oh, I want to enjoy that, or I want to try that. So my thing is that I'll always just advise that there are conversations around this stuff, because if you want to if I want people to be able to enjoy themselves, to understand how their body works, and to always be respectful and mindful that you're doing this with another person. This other person has feelings, right? Like I'm not an advocate for ever using somebody. So there I want to like very gently navigate them in a way of the importance of a, a fun sexual relationship or experience hinges on how well, again, this is like a healthy relationship with oneself, understanding one's own body, understanding one's own needs, and then having a respect for the other person's wants and needs. And then you can have the fun sex exploration type thing. But what we're doing right now is we're cutting off the means of communication to like, the texting culture, or saying something really crass to a stranger, thinking that sex with a stranger would be somehow better, when actually it's with somebody you really care about and you've communicated with, and that that's the foundation for something that's really healthy and can be fun, and where you can be vulnerable and try new things. So I think I don't know what's going to happen. I suspect that eventually there's going to be like the pendulum is going to swing the other way. I think people are going to eventually get tired of scrolling. I mean, I don't know for sure. I just
Mhm.
don't think it's sustainable, because our mental health, it's not sustainable. I think I've talked about this in my class, and actually on a couple of other podcasts. I call it the Taco Bellization of sex,
Right.
that it's not going to work in the same way fast food and drive-throughs, they all seem like a good idea. They seemed so efficient, but now we can see it's something like 70% of Americans are overweight. We have a very big health issue for the first time. The next generation might not live as long as the previous generation. And this is all health related and very, very bad eating habits. And the eating habits are forcing us to be isolated, This idea of efficiency means that you're not eating with people, which is supposed to be a social activity,
Mhm.
taking the time for the ingredients, having this manufactured crap, just trying to eat on the go when you're going somewhere. And sex is turning into the same thing in dating. Like, let's be
Right.
efficient, or let's just make sex really efficient, and just you find somebody you mutually find attractive, and then that's the end of it. And just with Taco Bell or the fast food stuff, it doesn't work. It's going to hurt. And then the same thing with these like quick dating app stuff. It's not going to work. It's going to harm our mental health. And we can see the results of that right now. Like, depression levels are much higher amongst Gen Z, and it's not because they're narcissistic. That's not what it is. Some people want to say, oh, they're just so narcissistic, or they're so into themselves. No, they're human like everybody else. That's not what the issue is. We put a phone in front of them and selfies in front of them to continually be trying to present an image of themselves to other people instead of develop character. And that will lead to depression.
Mhm.
Don't focus on your image, focus on your character. Focus on, are you a good listener? Are you a good friend? Are you kind? Are you motivated? What is your talent? Those are all character traits. And that is magnetic. The image is not magnetic. It doesn't do anything for you. Nobody's going to remember the image. People will remember your character. So I think that this image versus character is one of the things that is making it difficult for healthy relationships. And also, this is part of the dating, collision problem. I would also recommend that maybe try getting set up by one of your friends
Mm.
instead of just swiping. Just see how that goes. See what would your friend say. How would your friend pick out somebody for you? I mean, maybe try that too.